to the SnapScale Show, hosted by Mike Yablonowitz and Nathan Bush. In every episode, we explore the real challenges and breakthroughs happening in modern healthcare operations, from navigating compliance to virtual staffing and emerging technology. You will hear real stories from clinics, learn from healthcare leaders, and uncover practical strategies that help you run a smoother, more efficient practice without losing focus on what matters most: patient care. SnapScale exists to take the pressure off your front office and administration work, so you can get back to doing what you love. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest episodes and visit snapscale.com to learn more. Let's simplify healthcare operations together. This is the SnapScale Show.
What is up, guys? What is going on? I am excited to be here with you today, and we are going to be talking all about virtual assistants and AI and how it's impacting healthcare. Just a quick question for you. If you're watching live or online on the replay, would you mind taking a second and putting in the comments for me? Just let me know. What is your overall feeling on AI? Is it scary? Is it something that you're looking to implement within your business? Is AI something that you feel one way or another towards? Is it taking over the world? I've heard everything from the extremes with AI, and I just don't know. What is your temperament right now on virtual assistants and artificial intelligence? Go ahead and put it in the comments if you're watching. Like I said, this will be helpful for everybody, right? Because as we go through 2026, there's changes that are happening in the marketplace. And I want you to be able to embrace those changes with confidence. I want you to be able to take those changes and implement them within your practice and do them in a smart way. I want you to be able to do them in an ethical way, and in an honest way, in a way that serves your patients and drives revenue within your business. But it's got to be done in a thoughtful approach. And so before we hop too far into this, there are real bottlenecks in healthcare. Okay, especially as more administrative work is being added to you, is there's changes in insurance, is there are more and more patients being enrolled. Okay, most practices hit a ceiling not because they can't handle more work. It's literally they have a capacity issue. I want you to think about it like this. Every single task that you have to do inside of your business is like the bricks that are building that building. And you can see that on the right-hand side there of the screen. Every single task, every single phone call, every single administrative thing that has to be done inside of your practice, I want you to view it as just another brick to building your business. It's okay that those bricks are being laid because they're building your business. Now, here's the capacity issue. When your team starts running out of their ability to do those tasks, instead of there being an open door for patients in your business, there becomes a brick wall in their way. And so clinics don't need more staff. What they're needing is the ability to expand their capacity. So your team's capacity, not your quality of care, is what's limiting growth. But what if the right support system could multiply your impact? That's what we're going to talk about today, is how that works, okay? And there's really two painful options. Most providers are only thinking of these options, number one and option number two. Number one, keep overworking your current team. That's okay. You definitely can keep overworking your team. Here's the challenge. Eventually they burn out. Eventually they get tired. Eventually they turn over. They go to a different role. How many of you guys that are watching right now online or watching on the replay, how many of you have ever had a team member that has turned over on you? They didn't stick with you, and then you filled the role. You trained the new person, you brought them in, you did all the work, and that new person turned over. And then the cycle starts over and over again. And the problem is that person that was with you in the beginning, they had a lot of what we call institutional knowledge. The knowledge that's been with your organization for years. But every time they turn over, a little bit of that institutional knowledge seems to slip away. And so that's the problem with overworking your current team. There's a second problem, and it's almost as bad as the first problem, and that's hiring more in-office staff than what you can afford. I know this because I personally have done this in the past where I've overhired staff and I didn't need as many people, but I didn't want to burn out my team. And so it was hard on my budgets. And it actually detracted from my team's motivation because I couldn't give the same incentives and we couldn't drive the business the same way that we wanted to. But there is a third option, and that is building scalable support without breaking into the budget. So there's a third option. That's building scalable support without breaking into your budget. Hi, guys. I appreciate you joining me. If you're just jumping in online or you're jumping in anywhere coast to coast, LinkedIn, maybe you're seeing this live on LinkedIn, or maybe you're seeing this on YouTube, or maybe you got a link from our organization to be here live and to watch this today. I just want to tell you a little bit about who I am and why you might want to be here and listen all the way until the end. So I personally have been responsible for helping grow healthcare clinics for a long time now. In fact, I helped a hearing aid company go from 7 to 47 locations in just under 4 years. And we did that with systems and support. Okay. I'm going to show you how that process works with filling in these administrative roles and how to solve this with systems as opposed to just more staff. Secondly, I'm Senior Vice President of SnapScale, and I've helped hundreds of healthcare clinics grow, scale, and improve patient care. And so this webinar is going to help you do the same things. I've authored the Caesar method, which is my 6-step process to achieving rapid strategic growth within businesses, and consultants and healthcare practices are using this book in order to understand the structure of growth. And they just have a personal mission to transform healthcare operations by equipping practices and providers with the people, platforms, and processes that the leadership needs to elevate patient care and creative thinking so they can scale their businesses. Okay, so you saw the slides. One of the cool things that's developing right now in healthcare, while you can see my bio, healthcare is changing just as fast as what that bio could change, because even as recently as last couple of months, I have enrolled into a Harvard AI course in order to understand even better how AI is impacting ethics and leadership in healthcare practices. And I've completed a certification in AI to be able to help, again, better understand through Chamberlain University how AI is impacting businesses and helping them scale specifically in the healthcare practice in an ethical way. And so that's very important for you guys to understand who you're listening to and how I can help you take this conversation about virtual assistants, AI, scaling your business all the way to the finish line. Okay, so here's the real question though. Is a virtual assistant right for my practice? But you can ask the same question about AI. Is AI right for my practice? See, AI in a virtual assistant is a person or artificial person, right? Artificial intelligence. That's what AI or virtual assistant is. That's all. So the question then becomes, what is the system that supports growth in my practice, not the tool or the resource that I'm going to utilize to scale that practice? And I'm going to help you with that, because not all the time is a virtual assistant or AI or any of those things right for your practice. It has to be the right tool for the right job. And this session is going to be all about clarity, guys. We're going to help you understand how to walk knowing if you're ready to start with a virtual assistant or AI, where to start, and how to do it safely, because that's the most important thing. We can't jeopardize security at the risk of growth within our healthcare practice, and that's what we're going to help you do. So there's a couple of secrets that all of the people who are successful scaling their healthcare practice use across the board, as we're talking with hundreds and hundreds of healthcare practices at SnapScale right now. And the first secret is what you see up there on the screen. There's a right time to hire a virtual assistant. You don't hire a virtual assistant to fix chaos in your practice. You hire a virtual assistant to prevent chaos. And here is how that specifically works, okay? You know you're ready for a VA or AI if you're missing calls or you're missing follow-ups. Somebody has to follow up, guys. That is a lack of patient care. And I told my staff this as I was growing and scaling the hearing aid practice. Look, if you are not following up with the patient, if you are not calling the patient back, if you're missing calls with the patient and not getting back to them, that is a patient care issue. Your staff spends more time on admin work, pre-authorizations, insurance verifications than on the patient right in front of them. Okay? That's a challenge. It's a patient care challenge. Not only is these two things, missed calls and revenue, patient care challenges, they're also behind the scenes revenue challenges. This is places where revenue is quietly leaking. Look, every patient care opportunity is a revenue generating opportunity, at least for long-term success. Number 3, you're deferring growth because of no bandwidth. Okay, you could take on a new location. You could bring on more patients. The challenge is that your staff doesn't have any more bandwidth. Well, here we go again. You have great care. You just can't continue to serve even more people because your bandwidth is stopping you. You also know that it's time for a virtual assistant or AI. If you're doing the same low value tasks every single day, okay? If you want to jumpstart your business, you got to quit doing the low value tasks. In fact, I got a model I'm going to share with you to know exactly which tasks you should be delegating and which ones you should be holding on to as a provider. And we'll go over that today. Knowing your team knows exactly how to get things done, just how things are getting done. They just know that they are getting done. Like, how does everything get done here today? It's time maybe to institute some automation and start putting things in place so that your team has more time to think. Look, AI, virtual assistant, they don't replace this. They don't replace your judgment. They don't replace your team's judgment nor their responsibility. They help you automate processes. They help you automate processes within the platforms that you're using, okay? That's all AI is designed to do. Whether we're talking about wearable AI products, that's not replacing a staff member. That wearable AI product is going to help you, but it's not going to replace anybody. Same thing with generative AI. Look, it might not be that you need to hire 6 copywriters to work for your extremely large healthcare practice, okay? You might be able to reduce that with generative AI. But outside of that, look, this isn't, AI is not replacing anybody. A VA is not replacing staff members for you. But if your staff is becoming burned out and that's the norm and you see high turnover or leads and referrals are falling through the cracks, these are things that can be automated with virtual assistants, with AI that can support your practice, support your staff, and ultimately support your patient care. Here's the model that you have to go by if you're trying to determine what the right structure is or the right framework is for scaling an organization. I want you to remember the 3 Ps. If you're taking notes today and you want to write something down, this is a good place to start with taking notes. The 3 Ps. The first P that we're going to talk about is people. We got to have the right people on the team. We got to have the right people in place to oversee any type of automation. Remember, AI cannot be replacing your human judgment. They cannot be replacing your human responsibility. If it requires care or empathy, those are places where people are required. And so at SnapScale, we just happen to be an organization that offers a service that we can help staff people who your practice needs in order to fill that role. But if all I did was provide you a person, that person is not going to help your organization scale anymore. You're still going to have the same bottlenecks. You just have another person in the mix. So then what you need is a process and a platform, okay? And SnapScale is all 3. We're the people, we help with the process, and we're a structured platform along with the other people, processes, and platforms that you have within your practice. So you're not outsourcing, you're expanding your team's capabilities. That's as simple as I can make this understanding of how do you scale a practice. You got to have the right people. And they have to be quality people. You can't scale or grow a practice without quality people. But along those same lines with quality people, the second P being process, guys. Process is incredibly impactful in scaling an operation. Sometimes you have too many steps in your process. You have a over-engineered process, and sometimes you have an under-engineered process. Both are challenges to an organization. And then those only matter if they're being instituted within the right platform. See, AI is a platform. It's a virtual platform. Don't confuse AI with people, and don't confuse AI with process. AI is nothing more than another platform. You have an EMR system or an EHR system. Now you have an AI system, right? It's just another platform. You still need people to oversee that, and those people still have to follow certain processes, or your business is going to stall out. Let me share a quick case study with you. This may be helpful in understanding on when and where you're going to institute additional resources, right? So here is a perfect case study for you. Evergreen Primary Care. Evergreen Primary Care is in St. Paul, Minnesota. They're a DPC clinic, and they offer unlimited patient access for a monthly fee. As the patient volume grew, though, here's the challenge. The doctors spent increasing time on clerical tasks, scheduling, referrals, records, limiting their growth and their work-life balance. How many of you would wish you have a little bit more of a work-life balance? Just consider this. Do I have the right people? Do I have the right processes in place? And do I have the right platforms? Here's the solution. SnapScale provided a HIPAA-certified virtual assistant trained on Evergreen's EMR system and Spruce communication, okay? So we helped them. We worked with Evergreen Primary Care. They had some understanding of their EMR system. We worked with them on that EMR system, whether that EMR system was Hint or any of the other ones that are out there for direct primary care. Our organization can support and help that. And then, look, Spruce communication platform on the other side. There was no AI automation in this solution to help lift the challenges that were going on in this practice. There was managing the current platforms that were out there with the right processes, with the right people that protected the practice against risk. And so ultimately the impact was the VA now manages their billing, their authorizations, their documentation, and this freed the doctors to focus on patient care, which is why they got into the direct primary care business in the first place. This significantly increased overall patient appointments and clinical capacity. It also improved the physician's work-life balance, reduced administrative stress. This was a win-win all around. Here's a quote from Dr. Leslie Sherbeck. She said, this is the kind of practice we envision. SnapScale helped us achieve that vision. And so think about it. What was the vision you had for your practice? Are there gaps between where you want to be and where you're at right now? That's when it's time to pick up the keyboard, click, clack on it, go over to snapscale.com, set up an appointment with somebody on our team so they can help you in the same way that Evergreen Primary Care was helped. Okay, so what is the second secret, though? Because it's not just hiring the VA or not, are we ready to hire VA or not, that these practices are ultimately successful, right? The second thing that they do, and they do this really well, they do this better than any other practice. The second secret is role clarity, what to delegate. They understand not just that they need to delegate, but they determine what specifically they need to delegate. So let's see, scale happens when everyone works at the top of their license. So here's the model. Here's what I want you to think about, okay? You have clinicians who are the licensed clinicians at the top. They interact the most with the patient care. They're taking care of the patient at the highest level. And that should be your primary focus, those patients. So the same thing then goes with your staff or your in-office staff. These in-office staff and clinicians, they're patient-facing. They should be patient-focused. They should be handling as much of the patient care as possible because they're in person, face-to-face. They should be providing empathy. They should be providing care. They should be providing judgment, right? Now, the staff supports the clinicians. Who supports your staff? That's your virtual assistants and AI, okay? Virtual assistants handle inbound calls, outbound calls, back-end workflow, repetitive tasks. All of these things are designed to support your staff in their efforts to support the clinicians who are ultimately supporting the patients. Work at the highest part of your license. Whoever can have the most interaction with the patient at the highest point of their licensing wins. Okay, so that's what the best clinics are doing. They're delegating tasks that aren't heavy to patient care. If it requires a certain aspect of making sure that patient care is taken care of from a licensing standpoint, the closest thing that that person can do towards that license is what they should be doing. Okay, so This might be a little bit more helpful to understand what are some things at the very low level that your staff should be offloading so that they can spend more time with patients. Here's one: scheduling appointments and confirmation calls. These absolutely are things that can be offloaded, whether that's to AI or whether that's to a virtual assistant. They can be offloaded, things like right now, like no-show follow-ups or insurance verifications, renewal coordination, pre-authorizations, data entry or referral management, voicemail, inbox triage, EMR task management, right? All these types of things, Google review responses. These aren't things that in-office staff should be spending their precious time doing when the patient's in front of them. I can't imagine. I used to tell this story to my team all the time because it was really helpful for them to get the visual picture, is that here we have a patient walking into the office. There's the front desk assistant that's on the phone having a pretty tough conversation about trying to get a patient to come in and get their hearing checked. And yet the new patient is walking in, and the person's having to either tell this person, you need to be on hold, putting the finger up, 1 minute, I'll be with you. That, for me, I didn't see that as high levels of patient care. I wanted, when the patient walked in, my front desk assistant to be able to have that conversation directly with the patient. And so if that's you, then you got to determine what are those highest level priority tasks that you want your in-office staff working on, and then delegate what's predictable and keep what's personal. That's the kind of the nugget here. Let me show this from 2 different case study scenarios. So there's 2 different clinics that we work with at SnapScale. One is EA Therapeutic Health, okay? The other one is Parkchester Medical. When they delegated those specific kind of tasks I just showed you, patient scheduling, follow-up, EMR management, the insurance verifications, prior authorizations, here's what EA Therapeutic saw. They saw a 25% drop in outstanding insurance balances, while monthly collections improved by 15% over the previous quarter from what their in-office staff was doing. In fact, here's what their COO had to say. She said that we kept hiring and hiring, but people weren't staying. They were training them, and it was time consuming. And by the time they were finally efficient, they were gone. Now, the front desk never shuts down, even when no one's physically there. Hybrid is working, and our HVA team is on it. They actually instituted a full virtual, outsourced virtual assistant for their front desk. They have a full kiosk in place where now when their patients walk in, they see the virtual assistant on the screen and they have a conversation with the virtual assistant. There is no more front desk team that's there anymore. They actually elected to go with a virtual assistant to do the whole process. And by doing so, there was the right person in place, the right platform, which was Hybrid, and the right policies and procedures that they had developed over time, that we were able to have a continuity of service now that they never had before. And the work that was getting done by people who were in office now is being done by virtual assistants who have been able to take care of that practice from top to bottom for their front desk. And they're very happy about it. You can look now also at Parkchester Medical. Here's a group that didn't replace their front desk, but here's what they had to say about the tasks that were offloaded from their front desk to SnapScale. And they said this: fewer cancellations, shorter hold times, and actionable data. As far as immediate benefits, we've seen a decrease in cancellations and hold times as a result of our new communication cadence. And so all they did was automate by having the right policies, procedures, and people in place. They automated appointment confirmations, follow-ups behind cancellations, and seen an increase inside of their business without replacing their front desk. So 2 different case studies side by side. One, completely virtual. Second one was a case where they supported their current front desk team. Both resulted in lifts in patient care and business. And so that's what we find is incredible, is that when you have the right people, the right plot processes, and the right platforms in place, well, this slide here says it all. When your team stops fighting fires, they start building your future. I want you to think back to that building your business concept, right? And each single task that they're doing is another brick that they're laying to build your business. If we can get more of those tasks done, we don't have to block the front door anymore. We can allow good patient care and have more patients walk through that door. So here's secret number 3, though. Okay. So we talked a lot about people, processes, and platforms. We talked even more about what tasks each people should be doing, how you should establish those processes, and what platforms those people can be working on. We talked a little bit about platforms. I want to now caution you. There is a challenge right now with AI. That challenge with AI and virtual assistants that companies will put out there is that they don't take compliance seriously. They add additional risk to your business. I want you to think about a physical therapy clinic for a second, okay? And the way that AI is going, and I just want to give you a quick case study. Let's say that your practice has implemented a new generative AI product. That AI product is designed to help you with case management. And one of the cases that you get as a physical therapist is a pro athlete. They're coming to you after knee surgery. And that pro athlete's goal is to get back to playing fast. Generative AI takes all of that information, takes the first couple of initial meetings when you put it into generative AI, and it gives you a plan that feels a little aggressive to you. Now, you have a choice to make with that generative AI plan. The choice is, do you follow the plan that was generated by generative AI, right? Or do you take a more conservative approach? Here's the challenge that you run into with AI. Number 1 is your judgment. You can't just take AI's word for something, okay? AI is going to conflagulate, which is the new word for, we don't say hallucination anymore in the AI industry. We say conflagulate. And the reason we say that is because it's a computer making an error, not a human being. Okay? We got to remember it's a machine. AI has been around, guys, since 1950. Okay, I wrote down in my notes here that AI has been around since 1950. I asked you the question, how do you feel about AI at the very beginning? But you got to remember, back in 1997, there was a famous chess match that we all saw on the television where AI played against a person and a grand chess master, and they won. I don't know if you remember that or not, but AI has been around since 1956, actually. That chess match was in 1997. ChatGPT was in 2022. That's when ChatGPT launched. Okay, so generative AI is relatively new. Even no matter how good it gets, that personal judgment about that plan that I just told you, that physical therapist that's going on, that's going to be required. If that AI is making phone calls for you or scheduling appointments, some person still has to be behind that platform, making sure it's taken care of. Now, what does that also mean? That means that whatever information goes into that AI system, number 1, you have to follow the same HIPAA policies and procedures and protocols that you would with any platform to make sure that you're protected as an organization. And so these decisions that people are making to take patient data and put it into public AI, there's a major violation with programs like that. So is your AI program, that your platform that you're working with, HIPAA compliant? How do you know? Is the virtual assistant company that you're working with HIPAA compliant? It's really about the system of the business you work with, much more than it is the platform, the people, or the processes. So let me show you this. Okay, at SnapScale, what makes us different and unique is that we provide the person or the platform or the system, but on the back end is the system that we have to ensure that you're protected, that we're being HIPAA compliant. Number 1, we're going to sign a BAA with your organization. I don't know how many of these platform companies and these other virtual assistant organizations will even sign a BAA. That's not normal in our industry. The second thing that you have to do and you have to make sure is in place is that people understand the rules of HIPAA, the people that you work with. Do they have proper HIPAA policies, procedures, and protocols in place? I will tell you this, that one of the things that's unique that you'll find is that in HIPAA, one of the things that you should do is ask all of your vendors when their annual HIPAA inspection was. You've got to have an annual HIPAA inspection. It's got to be documented. Well, if your virtual assistant company is not doing the HIPAA inspection, That's not HIPAA. That's not HIPAA compliant. The other thing is like this BAA concept, right? If you sign a BAA with a foreign entity or even a foreign person, US law can't go to the foreign country to take care of litigating in the event that there's a HIPAA violation. And so you have to make sure that you're working with a company that understands HIPAA, that HIPAA is part of the system or the culture that supports the growth or the scale that you're putting in place. So don't go getting platforms or don't go running out trying to get virtual assistants people unless you have the right structure in place, the right system in place in the back end to protect your organization against these things. Do the people that are working for these work in a centralized office? Do they put their phones in lockers? Are there HIPAA security officers and stuff? These types of things are critical when we talk about compliance. So you have the person or the platform, but what's the system that supports them? It's SnapScale. We have a fully HIPAA compliant system. I know this because we hire a company called Digital Compliance, and they actually come in and do our annual audit. They're the ones that helped us put the BAA and the policies and procedures and all of those things together to ensure that we had a fully compliant HIPAA platform. In fact, HIPAA is so important to us that we worked with this compliance agency to come up with the first in the world work from home option, where we actually send a HIPAA certified trainer to somebody's home, okay? And that person's going to validate and verify that in the home, when the person's working from home, that they have the right closed door, locked access, the whole 9 yards. And if there's a violation, then that person will be notified for a right to cure within a certain period of time. All this and all those people work within about 40 minutes from the office. In the event that there was a power outage at their house or something happened, they could come into the office and continue their work with a lot of continuity for the practice. And so compliance is something that we live and breathe at our organization. There's some organizations that only care about HIPAA when there's a violation. There's some organizations that are proactively HIPAA, that they train their staff and their people on it. And then there's culturally HIPAA organizations like SnapScale. And so if you want to work with one of these platforms or people companies, just make sure that you have good compliance in place and protection in place against private health information violations, and that there's good judgment and leadership within that organization. There's really, though, 5 systems, not just the compliance system. That's probably, in my opinion, that's one of the most important systems that need to be in place. But there's really 5 systems that you got to look at when you partner with a staffing company or you partner with an AI platform. And this is it. Number 1, what does their onboarding system look like? How do you make sure that when you're going through that process that it's efficient, it's done correctly, that everybody understands the rules and the scopes and what's going to happen? See, the onboarding system is a critical system to success for scaling. The second system that's important to scaling is the SOPs. This is making sure that your training that you do with your staff and your policies and procedures are documented. They're in a recorded video somewhere so that somebody else can access those things. That we understand as a company what is the actual policy and procedure. Then you got to have good communication. Your communication system is critical to scaling and growing an organization. In fact, what does that look like? Is there daily reports that come to you? Because with our platforms and people that we provide to organizations, we actually provide a daily report. And that report provides you on the metrics and the performance of whatever it is that we're doing for your organization. If it's insurance verifications, you're going to get a report on how many insurance verifications were done or prior authorizations or whatever it is that your practice has done. It needs to be measured. And that measurement is an important part of good communication. Then you have compliance that we just talked about. And then lastly is metrics. This is goal setting, is more what I'm talking about. You got to work with a company that has a system in place that's set up around your goals. So what does that look like? Well, I talked to you a little bit about the book that I had written. And so the Caesar method is an important part of growing any organization. And so the way the Caesar method works is that first you have to understand that when you're working with remote team, okay, it's so critical that you connect with that team member. I mean, that you make it personal. You learn about their lives the same way you would your own staff's life that's working in the office. Don't leave a virtual team member out there to feel like they're on their own and trying to figure it out. You have to connect with them and build a managerial employee style relationship with them. While they'll have that connection at SnapScale with their supervisor at SnapScale and the leadership team that's local, whether that's the Philippines or India or Mexico, they'll have a connection with our team, but you want to make sure that you have a good personalized connection with them as well. Number two, you got to ask great questions. It doesn't matter who the person is working for your organization. When it's a person, the Caesar method applies, right? So we connect with those people, we ask great questions. We got to educate people. Okay. You can't just expect somebody to know how to do what you want done. So you work directly with the person at SnapScale that you hand select, and you need to make sure that you teach them, that there's continuously education. Yes, they'll have a background. Yes, the person that we provide for you or the people that we provide for you will have a background, and they'll go through, we have a course that we teach called the professional development course. Very important to teaching, insurance and prior authorizations and scheduling. And a lot of the tasks that we do for any clinic across the country, they can go through our professional development course and get a lot of that information, but they can't get your individual specific business information. So you got to teach it to them. Then you got to set an intention. You got to have some success metrics that you put in place between you and them, so they and we and you know exactly what it is that they're trying to do and how much of it and when it needs to be done by. And so we got to set a good intention. Then you want to make sure that the role aligns with the outcome that you've hired them for, that you're not having them do a bunch of other things that aren't in alignment with the interest of the role that you've specifically hired somebody for. And then lastly, referrals. You got to ask if you can promote them to the staff, to your team, to SnapScale's team. You need to ask if you can tell the story of their success when they're having that success. By edifying people and providing that kind of recommendation or referrals back to SnapScale, allowing people to understand and know what's going on, you're going to see that as a virtual assistant company, you're going to see that we edify the people in our organization through a number of different programs and these annualized town halls and different things that we do as an organization. So yes, AI is important, but AI is not human. It's not the personal part. And so when you're growing or scaling any organization, this can be applied to any employee as well. Any person working for your organization has to go through this process with whoever's overseeing them. Somebody has to be a direct manager, somebody directly overseeing that person. They have to go through the Caesar method if you want to see growth inside of your business. So learn to connect, ask great questions, educate people, set the intention, align interest, and then make sure that you're providing referrals back to SnapScale about what a great job that those people are doing for your organization when they're doing so we can edify them inside of our business. All right, let me give you one last case study. This case study was so amazing to see. Dr. Mahajan transformed his front office, and here's how he did it. Look, there was a chronic front desk issue. There was missed calls that were happening. There were no-shows, and there was unreliable in-office staff that was being hired, okay? This was a problem, and this disrupted patient flow and confidence in his practice overall. Not just the staffing gap, but a systems gap, because there was unclear roles. There was no structured onboarding for the new person, and there was inconsistent coverage was happening inside this practice. So here's the solution. SnapScale deployed a fully HIPAA-compliant healthcare virtual assistant, Vince, trained on his EMR system and clinical communication protocols. Here's what Dr. Mahajan had to say. It definitely brought stability to the office. Vince is there 40 hours a week answering phones, and patients are getting calls returned faster. Why is it so critical? Well, patients getting calls returned faster, somebody there 40 hours a week with continuity of service, patient care improved overall in Dr. Mahajan's practice. He had lower stress, greater capacity for patient growth. All that stuff happened when you have the right people, processes, and platforms in place. See, with a VA, you can get these tasks taken care of. It opens the door back to your practice like we talked about. Without a VA, you have missed calls, staff burnout, bottlenecks, limited growth. With a VA, you got 99% call capture, balanced workloads, clear workflows, scalable freedom, right? When we have the right people, processes, and platforms in place, then we can ultimately have the practice that we want and the patient care that we desire. SnapScale is the vision is simple: to build a system that serves you, not the other way around. Your practice should run like a system, not survive on sacrifice. And so here's what you need to do for 2026. Here's the big challenge, the thing that you can do. No, if you want to work with SnapScale or not, that's up to you. But here's what you can do for the next 30 days to start systemizing these things in your business. And hopefully you choose a partner that is right for your organization and that is right for the compliance within your organization. But here's what you can do over the next 30 days. Choose one repeatable task that you're finding in your business, with answering the phones, insurance verifications, data entry, EMR management, whatever the task is. Pick one. Over the next 30 days, document it completely and clearly. Use generative AI to write up the workflow procedure within your business, right? Maybe go to ChatGPT or Gemini and ask for some help in this procedure once you've done it yourself. You've documented it, you've written it out. Then I want you to review that, okay? So choose one repeatable task, document it, put it into generative AI, get the procedure, the policy written out, and then delegate it to somebody else. Make sure that somebody else on your team can follow it. And then see if it saves you any time. These are, if you just take this one small step, using AI, learning how to delegate, guys, that can make 2026 great. Do that with one task over the next 30 days. Then pick your second task and your third task. And eventually what you'll find is you'll stop doing all these different tasks. Your staff can start offloading certain tasks that are clogging them up and, again, blocking patient care from happening inside the clinic. All right, if you like the stuff that I went over today and you'd like to take a deeper dive on some of these resources, we have some written case studies. I can get those to you. What you do is you just scan that QR code on the screen, set up a little 15-minute meeting with me. I'll see if you're ready to move ahead with virtual assistants, or if you have questions about AI, I'd be happy to answer any of those questions for you. We'll talk about it. We'll see how it can work within your practice. 15 minutes, but then at the same time, I will send you each one of those different case studies and information that you see on the screen that can help you make sure that you're ready to scale 2026 and start your business engine. All right, guys. With that said, I'd like to take a second and thank you, because you can't take the care out of healthcare. Whether we're talking about a virtual assistant or AI, please remember, you still have judgment involved. People still have to be involved in your processes and your platforms. The minute that we take the personal judgment out of it and we rely on artificial intelligence to make those decisions, that's when patients can get hurt. And so that is my call to you. Please don't take the care out of healthcare.